everybody, Meriden Gaming here. We're back in Elite Dangerous, our favorite spaceflight simulation game, doing our beginner tutorials before we move on to more advanced topics. Today we're talking about trading, because that is another great way to make money. If you're not really all that into combat or you're not that good at it, this is a great way to get some money. Once you have a little bit, you will have to do some missions in order to get at least a little bit of starting capital in order to trade, because you are basically going to be starting at one station, buying supplies there, flying them to another, selling them there, buying stuff from there, and flying back to the original station. Now this is all done using eddb.io, that website that I've mentioned before on several other videos, because they have a system built into that website that allows you to find profitable trade routes. So we're not going to be doing missions or anything, so we're not going to be getting faction, but this is a great way to earn money fairly quickly. Although I still think combat's the most fun way of earning money, but if that's not your thing, if you want to be, a trade entrepreneur or expert, this is definitely a great thing to get into. So I'm going to put timestamps or whatever. I'm going to put in the summary where to skip to if you want to jump to the different portions. So I'm going to be going over ships that are kind of the best options, along with outfitting properly for trading, because it's a little bit different than combat. So you want to do that a little bit differently, and then actually going over to eddb.io and explaining how to use that system. Now I prefer the two-hop route, to where you are going back and forth between systems, but there's a couple other things we can cover there as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to start with, I hit the wrong button. There we go. Okay, so there's a bunch of different ships available. I'm not sure what's available here at this shipyard, but we can kind of go over it. Of course, you have the basic hauler. That one's okay, but it really doesn't have that much space. Even though it is fairly cheap, it is a great way to get into trading if you don't have a lot of money starting off. Now, the next one we're going to be looking at is the... Oh, it doesn't have it here. The one that I have. Okay. Well, hold on. Let's go over to the Elite Dangerous wiki real quick, and I can kind of point it out. Oh, dangerous ships. Here we go. That's what we want. So, basically what you're looking for is something that can carry a lot of cargo, so you need a lot of optional slots, and then you also want to be able to have a decent jump range. So, well, actually they have some here, although they don't have it broken out the way I would like. So you have your basic small ships, although this is done by alphabetical order, not size. So here's your hauler. Hauler works pretty well, courier too, but the courier you have to have Imperial ranks. So that's your basic starting ship. The next thing we're going to step up to is medium. Now mediums, the best option is actually the Python, because it has the most cargo space, because it has, I believe, 3 Class 6 cargo space, which is a lot. Now, the Transporter 6, which is or Type 6 Transporter, is what I have. This has, I think, a couple of levels, or no, I think this has Class 5, not Class 6, but this is the next best option, typically, although the Crate Mark II works as well. Starting off, because of how cheap the Type 6 Transporter is, it's only like $1.3 million. It's a great way to get into it. If you're getting attacked a lot, you can actually use the Keelback, because it has a fighter slot. But the Python and Type 6 are the ones you're going for, but the Python costs a lot. I want to say it's like 57 million. Yeah, 57 million. So that's not all that easy to get into. Maybe once you do quite a few runs with this Type 6 like I have. So if you look, it only costs $1 million. It's really cheap. It's basically a flying brick though, so it's not that maneuverable or anything, so it pretty much is dedicated to trading. The Crate Mark II was another good option, but once again, it cost a lot. But if you can see it, internal compartments, 2 Class 6, 2 Class 5s, 1 Class 4. Basically has 1 less Class 6 than the Python. It's a little bit cheaper than the Python. And I think the Phantom was the more combat-based version of this. Yeah, I can see less. It has more type or class 5s, but not as many class 6. And then we're going to get up into the large class. Now, you're probably not going to be getting into these as a beginner, but good options. Anaconda, just because it has a very large jump range if you outfit it right. It's more designed, it's kind of a multi-purpose. It works well in combat, it works well in trading, works well in exploration. So it's kind of one of those all-around good ships. So it's a great thing to have if you have a bunch of different components. You just swap them out if you only want to have one ship to use. You have the orcas, which you also had. What was it? The beluga, and then the dolphin. Those are all technically passenger ships, but they do work for um, trading. But they tend to be more expensive. The next thing you're going to step up to past the Python or the Type 6 is the Type 7. Now, basically, same kind of deal. Look how much. It doesn't cost very much, but it's a large ship, so you have to have large landing pads. So that's going to play a little bit into the EDDB.io bit. But if you look at it, 3 class 6, 3 class 5, 2 class 3s. So this and the Python are fairly close, honestly, in size. And the Python is a medium ship, so it can actually dock at more places. So I would actually go with the Python over the Type 6 because it opens up more possibilities. Then you have the Type 9, which is also another great option. Now this does cost quite a bit to get into, but you know, as you do more trading, you'll be able to get to it. But look at this, 2 class 8, 1 class 7, a class 6, a class 5. Now these class 8s, that's what makes this thing one of the top trading vessels in the game because that is a ton of slots. I can't remember how many, I think it's like 100 and something a piece. It's ridiculous how much it can carry. The Type 10 is also a good option. The problem with the Type transporters is the fact that they do have less jump range compared to their counterparts. So you will be limited by that, but you do have some other options. The final one, which is considered by most people to be the best, is the Imperial Cutter. Now, the problem with the Cutter is, look at this cost. Yeah, 208 million. And you have to be Imperial rank. Let's see what it was. It's Imperial rank of Duke. That takes a while to get to. So this really is not a beginner ship. But if you want to do a lot of trading and you want to grind out those ranks, that's what you're shooting for. The Clipper's decent, but yeah, in the large categories, the Type 9 and the Anaconda are probably your two best options. The Anaconda does cost quite a bit. In fact, it's almost double what the Type 9 does, but the jump range is considerably larger than the Type 9, which makes this a viable option. Anyway, let's get to actually outfitting our ship. Okay, so we're going to go to outfitting. Now what you're trying to do here is you're trying to get your jump range to as big as possible. Down here, you have your minimum, your current, your maximum. You're pretty much, with a trade ship, you're going to ignore the current and the max because you're pretty much always going to have a full cargo hold, so it's going to be this minimum. Um, so that's what you're going for. Power really doesn't matter. Top speed, boost speed, all that stuff does not really matter all that much. Um, so the main things you want to look at, of course, hard points, we have none. We're a trade ship. We don't need guns. We run away. Utility mount, same kind of deal. You could put in a chaff launcher if you wanted to, but that will take down your maximum or your jump range. So anything you're trying to make it to where you have as little weight as possible. So that comes into the different classes of or different ratings of your components. So you see here, what you're trying to do with your power plant is have the lowest possible um, level. So you see, I could fit a 3, but I've got a 2. You want the lowest possible level. That gives you enough power to power all your components. Now, I could have actually stepped down to a 2D if I wasn't running a shield, but we're beginners. We want a shield just in case we run into stuff. So this was the only thing that would give me just enough. If I step down to a 2D, if they even have it here, If you notice down in my deployed um, or my max and retracted for my energy, it is over. So if it says negative, whatever this is, that means I am actually over. Now there's a few little things you could technically disable in order to get this to work, but we're beginners. We don't have to worry about disabling components yet. So 2A, because if you notice, here's the thing I need to talk about. You see how these things have mass. Now each one of these, the lower the mass, the better it is. So look at this 2D. It's only 1 ton, whereas the 2E, 2.5 tons. So the D rank is the best option. It is the lowest weight overall. But now if we come up to the 2A, you notice it's fairly close. It's 1.3, so it's usually about 50% heavier than the D class. But it starts adding up if you have a multiple, Class D versus Class A stuff. So the only reason we're using this is just so we can have a shield. If I took the shield off, we could go with the Class D and have a little bit more cargo space, but for beginners, we wanted to have that little extra. Now, it comes the same thing with thrusters. You want the lowest rank D-rated thing you can get. Now, since we're Type 6, we're kind of limited. We can only do a 4D, which is what I already have installed, because of the fact that we're a fairly large, bricky ship. Some of the other ones I might have been able to drop down, especially for exploration. That's when you really try to get as low as possible in weight. But we are limited to the 4D thrusters for the Type 6. Frameshift drive, you want the Type A. They're Class A of whatever the biggest you can get, because this is what gives you your jump range, your base jump range, and then the whole weight thing gives you the extra little points of it. Once again, D class, D class. Power distributor, as low as you can go, as light as you can go. Now you can get to the point where you can't actually use boost if you go too low, but thankfully with the 2D and the Type 6, I was still able to. D-class sensors, and of course fuel tank, you can't change. So, at least I don't think you can change. Maybe, oh, you can actually go down, but of course that limits your how far you can jump, depending on. Well, I guess if you're going between 2 stations, you'd be able to, go and refuel it between each one, but I really don't mess with it. Now, optional internals. For the Type 6, what you're going to be looking for is a lot of cargo space, because if you look at these Class 5s, 32, 32, 2 Class 4s giving us another 32. The lowest rank shield you can get that will still cover you, which for the Type 6 is a Class 3. Now, I had to go down to an E. I would have preferred a Class 3C BioWeave, because the BioWeave recharges faster, because we're not worried about maximum. We're worried about just having decent shields enough to protect us. So I'd like to go with this, which actually, since we went to the 2E, we could, although what's that do to our range? It doesn't do anything to our range, so yeah. So since I stepped up to the Class 2A power plant, I could actually take that now. So that gives me a little bit better shielding, and it recharges fast, so if I run into someone or run into the side of something, I will still have, quickly regenerating shields. 2 Class 2 cargo racks for another 4 apiece, so that's another 8. I think we have like a total of 108, whatever. An advanced docking computer, because we're beginners, we don't like to manually dock. Now you could, if you wanted to, take one of these Class 2 cargo racks out and put in a Super Cruise Assist to allow you to basically drop you out. In fact, why don't we do that? If we want to make this as beginner friendly as possible, we will do that. Flight Assist, Super Cruise Assist. We'll exchange that. So, that makes it just that much easier for us to do our trading. And that is the basics of how to outfit your ship. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is eddb.io. Now, once you come into here, this is the basic, home screen. You've got a couple different options. You have single hop routes. So, if you are basically trying to get from one point to another, and you just want to make a little bit of trade, make a little bit of money just from where you are to where you're going, this is a great option. But we're not really looking at doing that. We wanted to make profit, ongoing, so one right after the other. You have the multi-hop route. So if you're going from point A to point E, as this says, like you're going multiple jumps, you're trying to get somewhere, but you want to make money along the way, this is your option. Basically, I believe, I've never really actually used this, but I believe you can plug in like your jump range and all that stuff, which we'll cover in a few minutes. You basically plug in your stats, and then you tell it where you want to go, what station you're at, and where you want to go to, and it will give you options along the way. But that's not true trading. That's just a little extra trading on the way. What we're doing is loop route. So what we're trying to do here is basically it may not even be in the system we're currently in. This will tell us a system close by or the most profitable within about 200 light years. And it will tell us, based on profit or based on distance from us, where's the best way to make money jumping between two systems. So things you have to look out for, max hop distance. So on this you have to pay attention to your max jump range because of course I already know what it is. Mine's around 19, so we're just going to put in 19 for us. And if I've engineered, which is another topic for later on a different episode, um, I could get my jump range higher, but for right now, my maximum hop distance, if I'm hopping between just two systems, is 19, because that's what you want. If you're hopping back and forth between two systems, you're not having to jump to intermediate places to get to them. That's where you're making your most money. Minimum supply and demand, honestly, this really doesn't matter that much, but I usually leave it at the base, um, but it really won't matter. Max price age, 1 day is fine. I usually set it up to 2, but you can do it to where, because people will report how much stuff is as they do trading on here, so that will basically they update it manually. Minimum profits, I usually leave it about 10,000 per run. And this is based on just trading one item. So yeah, that's how that works. Result order, we can do profit. I'll show profit first, but then we will switch to the other option. And then as far as these goes, the only thing you really have to worry about is the landing pad. If you are using the Type 7, Type 9, or Anaconda, or the Clipper, you have to set it to where it's large because those can't land at medium ports, so that will limit you down to certain things. And then distance from the star where you warp in to the uh, base that you're going to, um, that is basically around 500. Doesn't take you too long. You can set it up to like 1,000. It's still pretty decent. It's basically it all comes down to how quickly you can make your trips. In planetary, typically the planetary actually have more demand and they buy stuff for more money, and they have a few extra components that some of the space stations may not have. But if you're not comfortable with doing planetary landings, um, this may not be a great option for you. So we can go ahead and turn that off or on depending on how you want to do it. Because typically planetary landings will take you longer, so unless it makes enough extra money, it may not be worth it if you're not experienced with landing. So we'll turn that off. Fleet carriers, some people have special ships that are basically giant space stations by themselves, and they buy commodities too, but they move every so often. I think it's like once a week. So that is not as reliable as to know where they are at, and sometimes they don't allow everyone to dock there. So I turn that off. And then finally, we put in the system we're at. So right now, we're at QBO, because I'm also doing a little extra thing with power plays, which I will discuss later. So after we select the station, well, not station, but the system we're in, we hit Find Loop. So now that we have set it on profit, which is thinking, okay, so since we have it set on profit, it's going to give us the highest profit one within about 200 light years. So as you can see, um, here's how much we're going to buy the first thing from, and here's where we're at. We are at Gentryport at Wargis. This is the first station you would have to fly to. You would buy the um, bentridite. So here's the commodity you want, the bentridite. You're going to buy it for around 16,000 credits, per item. So, and with the other things, you can kind of calculate it out in your head or use a calculator to figure out how much it's going to cost. But um, then you're going to take this bentridite to this second station right here. So this web orbital at Skirth, I don't know, and it sells for 21,000. So you're making basically around not quite 4, probably like 3.5 thousand credits for each individual piece of commodity. So if since we have like around 100, so that'd be 350,000 extra money per or for just this side of the run. It also tells you how far they are. So at Gentry Port from Margus, it has a large pad, 14 light seconds from the star we come in at, and the price was updated 9 hours ago. And over here at the other station, it's a medium pad, so we wouldn't be able to do this if we were in, the Anaconda or the Type 9. It's 130 light seconds, and it was updated 1 day ago. And then once we sell the stuff here at, Web Orbital, we're going to buy silver, which they have a large supply of it, for 33,990, so basically 34,000, and sell it for 49,000. So that is almost, what is that, 15,000 extra, or 15,000 credits per run. That's where we're going to make the majority of our thing. Because see, it actually shows it right here. So per item we buy and sell, well, per run, we're going to make around 1,900. Well, it's per item. It's kind of hard to explain, but once you make a round trip, so if we have 100, imagine that. So 100 times this would give us what? 1.9 million? Is that right? I'd have to calculate that out. But yeah, so 100 more. Let's move that over to, so 1, yeah, 1, 2, yeah, 1.9 million. That's a lot of money when you're starting off. Sorry, I can't do math in my head all that well. But the problem is, this is 200 light years away. If we don't have anything in our ship, we were able to jump, I want to say it was close to 30 light years, or 25 light years. So that would take us a while to get there. So this is the most profitable way, but if you don't want to go too far from where you're at, you can change this result order to distance from you. So this tries to find something with a minimum profit of 10,000 close to you with all these other settings. So now we look at this. Now this one is only 33 light years, so 2 jumps for us right now. So that's a whole lot more, or a whole lot easier to get to. Of course, this one is a little bit further away from the star, 470 light seconds. This one's 332, but they're both updated within the past 24 hours. But we're going to be making 16,000 or 1.6 million per run. So that is a lot more manageable, and we don't have to go nearly as far. Now, I'm not sure, how do I tell? A lot of these are going to the same thing. Oh, I think we turned off planetary, didn't we? So we're good there. Yeah, we turned off planetary. So if we went ahead and did this, if we're good with planetary landings, we could choose that. It might bring up the minimum up a little bit more. Let's see. Now, it's still the same for the one that's closest to us, I believe. Or pretty close, yeah. So it's still, that is the most profitable. But if we went back to the profit-based, I think we're going to see over 20,000 per run, per thing. Or not. Oh no, yeah, it's a little bit more. Because if you see the planet icon, that means it is a planetary. But that typically, like I said, that means that you have to do a planetary landing, and if you're not that good at those, it makes it that much more difficult. So I tend to leave off planetary. So, like I said, this, as soon as it updates again, this is probably your best bet if you want to travel that far. Now, it all depends on where you're at. So let's say I'm not at Cubio. Let's say you're back at Peakum, where I was in the last episode. So let's see what is the best thing here, because this is quite a ways. I want to say it says 200 light years already from Cubio. So there might be, oh, nope, it's the same one. because it's only 64 light years away. Huh. But yeah, so that is the basics of trading. I'm not going to do any trade runs because it's kind of like the missions, but you actually, I will do one little thing to show you. If we come down to Starport Services, the way to actually buy and sell commodities is you come up to Commodities Markets, which is right here. We're going to go in there, and then basically here's the buy. So I would find whatever the item is I want to buy to take to the other system. You would click on it, you would tell it how many you want, and you would hit buy. And then to sell stuff, you just, same thing, sell, you find the item that you have to sell, click on it and, hit the plus button so you have all of them ready to sell, hit sell, and then you make your money. And that's it. And you just buy the next item and take it back to the other station. Simple as that. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know this was a little bit more of a talky episode rather than, combat based. But yeah, that is the basics of trading. It's a great way to get money, especially if you're not really good at combat yet or you don't have a fully outfitted ship. As long as you got a little bit of money, you can you can compound that money over and over again. And then once you get, you step up to a slightly larger ship, you can make more money based on the number of, or the amount of cargo space you have. Because I want to say the Python has about 290 if you forego a shield. So instead of that 1.9 million, we'd be making closer to 5 million per run. But you do have to have money in order to get that ship outfitted and then have enough money to purchase all those things, because I think, what was it? It was like 14,000 per item. So, or 35,000 per item. So you have to have enough money to purchase 290 of those. So you do have to have quite a bit of money once you get up into that higher ranks of trading. But yeah, anyway, this is Meriden Gaming. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell so you can see all my videos, including the 2 Minecraft, both the single player and the server-based Minecraft seasons. The, what is it called? Medieval Dynasty survival game. Kind of civ building or city building crossed with a survival in the medieval night times. And then we're also doing the Borderlands 3 challenge playthrough. We're doing the commons only challenge right now, where we're taking on all the bosses with just common weapons and no action skills. So if that's kind of your thing, feel free to check those out. And if you want to try those challenges, record that for us and post it as a comment. That'd be great, to see, how y'all are handling it too. But anyway, yeah, leave comments if there's a specific ship you want a uh, tutorial on or a video on, outfitting it a certain way, or if there's specific tutorials you want to see for Elite Dangerous, let me know and I will get on those. I plan on doing exploration next time. That will cover the majority of the basic things that you can do in the game. But then we will also cover a few extra things, like some more advanced ways of making money and mining. That was the other one. Exploration, then mining. And then we'll move on to more advanced topics, like galactic powers and all kinds of other cool stuff. But anyway, this is Meriden Gaming, and I'll see you in space, 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 space.